Good Tuesday morning. Todd Long here, Home Advantage Partners, Keller Williams Realty. It's one of my favorite days. I've told you this before. I love closing day. Just stopped by one of my buyer clients' new home, and they did a final walkthrough a couple of days ago with their contractor who's doing some work. So I just stopped by there this morning on the way to closing, do one final walkthrough for myself, just to make sure there weren't any broken pipes or anything like that, since it has been cold a couple of nights. Anyway, the reason I wanted to do this video today was to tell you that, you know, we had a lot of, and this is probably good for my real estate agent friends as well as potential clients in the future. We had a lot of changes since 2008 with truth in lending disclosures, the TRID, Dodd-Frank, things like that. Now they keep buyers in separate and sellers separate at the closing table. You know, some of those things are actually good, and yet one of the things that happens is a closing disclosure now is generated for the buyer, and a closing disclosure is generated for the seller. And often it seems like the attorneys are trying to keep the buyer's closing documents completely separate from the seller's closing documents. I get that to a certain extent, except me as a buyer's agent, and if you are not using my services and you have somebody else that is your buyer's agent, your buyer's agent really needs to review that seller disclosure. All right, we had a little break there because the video was really bad. I had the sun glaring in my eyes. It's early in the morning, out and about early in the morning. So really important that your buyer's agent look at that seller disclosure as well. And most of the attorneys have gotten good now. They will provide that to you if you ask. They don't send it to you very often if you don't ask. And yet there were some things on this particular closing that were not correct on the seller side of the disclosure. For one, my commission was wrong. That is something that's pretty important as an agent, and that if you don't check it, if you don't check the seller disclosure, you're never going to know until the check is actually cut after closing if the commission is correct. So, and it's a little too late at that point. But also things like if there was a home warranty paid for by the seller, if there was a I didn't have this on this one, but if the seller was supposed to pay for a pest treatment, like a termite treatment or something like that, you need to make sure those things have actually been paid for before it goes to closing, because after closing, it's going to get really difficult to clear those things up. So, buyer's agents and buyers, you're not going to really get to review the seller disclosure. Make sure your buyer's agent is actually reviewing the seller side of the disclosure to make sure all those things are correct as well. Have a great week.